Hello everybody, I'm just doing a series of creative videos to talk to you about the techniques that I use regularly with my clients, and just now I'm going to talk to you about a technique I use with the Heartlands Emotional Literacy Cards. Okay, so you can get all sorts of cards, and I'm not saying if you get these are the best, and if you get others they're not as good by any stretch. You can get loads, and whichever ones I find with therapists, whichever ones you have are the ones you feel passionate about, understandably. But Heartland's Emotional Literacy Cards look a bit like this. Can you see? They're like, they remind me like pencil crayon drawings of different things. They're very, I guess you could say vague, for want of a better word. They're just sort of symbols. So this is the way I use these cards. Okay, the client, I invite the flies landing on me. A client puts the client cards in their hand, and I ask them, invite them to go through them and just select any that they feel drawn to. Yeah, no more explanation is needed than that. Which ones do you feel drawn to? And they go through. Oh, that one, that one, okay, that one. And they pick a few. Yeah, whatever. I'm worried about laying them out because it's windy. They pick a few. Yeah. Now, if they pick loads, like 10 plus or even 8 plus, I invite them to go through again and say, is there any that particularly you feel drawn to? And I invite them to arrange them on a table or the carpet if you've not got a table, in any way that feels right. So they might put these two together, and I'm just going to make sure they're in frame. These two together, they might put this one right over here, and they might put one down here, and whatever. So they're arranging them in a way that feels right. Does that feel right? Is that about right for you? And they're like, oh yeah, whatever, these are fine. And I gently say, which one would you like to talk about first? And this is where the magic of cards starts to happen, because the client, well, I've picked this one because I feel really on the spot. I feel really dark and a little bit like cornered, whatever. And I put these two together and just to inquire, just really gently inquire. I've noticed if you've picked that one. Notice, this is important. Notice, I'm not saying I notice you've picked the one with a lightning bolt hitting the ground, because that might not be how the client views the card. They might see it as something else. So I don't identify what it is myself. I allow the client to lead on that. So I notice you've picked this one. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that? I notice you've picked this one. Don't come in to see me. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that? I noticed this one's quite away from the others. Would you like to tell me a little bit about that? These dogs really like me today. I feel totally flattered. So in this way, I allow the client to explore using these cards as like an inspiration for self-reflection, and it's really useful. I've never used the Heartlands Emotional Literacy Cards and it's sort of landed flat. They've always been useful for people. I've never had it so they're just like, oh no, I don't. It's never been like that. So that just stands testament to perhaps how I present it into the work, but also how the client is ready for, sort of exploring it and using them to explore. I'm self-conscious that someone's walking past. So I hope that's useful. I'm trying to think, is there anything more that I'd like to say about that? But I think that's pretty much how I use the cards. And honestly, I've often had clients that, a lot of emotion comes up out of it. When you think about stuff like that, a lot of emotion comes up, because cards speak to a deeper part of ourselves, don't they? A part that might be a little bit out of our awareness, and that's the beauty of using things like this. All right, bye bye for now.